Hi, and welcome back to another video on waveform. This time we're looking at waveform 12.5 and a specific feature that allows you to separate or unmix a song by separating it into the different stems that make up the mix. And this is up to 4 parts. Mostly it will take out the bass, the vocals, the drums, and then everything else into 4 different stems. But it's extremely useful, particularly for remixing, and it is offered as part of the DJ Tools pack, or it's also a standard feature in Waveform 12.5 Pro, which is what I'll be using here in this example. And I already imported an entire mixed song. I'm going to play a little bit of that for you, and then we'll take a look and give a try to see how good of a job this new feature does.
It had to be you. It had to be you.
All right, so you can see this is sort of a jazzy standard tune. We've got some interesting elements, that saxophone, we've got piano, we've got some really light brush drums, and then a very prominent lead vocal. So we'll see how this does with separating that into those components. So the way you do this is up on the header in the audio clip. Of course, you've got to import this, which I won't go over, but basically you could just drag an audio file in to any track, and then you right click on the header, and then here is the new feature, split to stems. Click that and you'll see that you have some options. 4 stems, which gives you all the parts, which is what I guess I pretty much always do, but you do have the ability to extract out just the vocal or maybe just the drum. So if you did want to create a karaoke or a practice track, you could extract it to this and then remix it with the vocals out, or the bass part, or whatever it is that you want to work on. I find it's really interesting for analyzing tunes to see how they're put together, or to really analyze the bass part if you're trying to learn that. So I'm going to choose the 4 stems and click separate. And now you can see that it's thinking. And at this point, I am not really entirely sure if it's doing this locally. I think it's doing it locally. There are other systems that do things like this. There is a really good online tool called lalal.ai, Lalal.ai. But of course, it has a monthly subscription, and it's fairly expensive if you want to use it. It will extract out, I think, maybe up to 8 parts. And so it has more features, and online and a desktop version. But this being built in, you can use it unlimited. I think it's a really cool new feature in Waveform. And this debuted in Waveform 12.5, along with some other DJ tools and enhancements in the ability to do more with your video tracks. Now you can see that it took it a little while to go through. This is a full-length song, and now it's separated this into stereo tracks. So the first I'm going to do is mute this, and then I'm going to play these parts one by one. So we'll make this one a little smaller. We're going to make these other ones bigger. So one way to make them bigger is to shift click to select all the tracks, and then grab between a couple of those tracks and then pull them out bigger. So you could see in the name here, it didn't name the tracks themselves, but it did name the clips. So here it says drums. You could rename those tracks if you wanted to do that. But let's give a listen here to each of these parts. I'm going to do solo on this.
It had to be you. I wandered around
All right, so first thought here is that it did a pretty good job on the drums. The vocals nicely isolated. Got a little confused. You could hear a little bleed from that saxophone part that's in there. The bass, very, very clean in the way that it came out. I'm going to go back to the beginning and listen to this other track a little bit more. I'm not really sure exactly what it was doing that. This is a pretty simple, kind of a jazz trio type of a backing band here. Before I do that, I want to show you one thing you might, if you're working on something like this, where you want to solo individual elements like this while you're listening to a track. Sometimes you do this before mixing. There is a setting for how solo works that you might find interesting. So under settings and in general, look here under the mixing defaults section and you'll see solo behavior right here. And I've got it set to exclusive solo. That means when you solo one track, you could basically only solo one track at a time. You have options here where you could do cumulative solo or exclusive solo. Cumulative solo would probably be more the default situation where everything you solo will stay soloed, like on a mixing board. But exclusive solo is very useful in this situation. So I'm going to go back here, we'll listen to this, and then we'll try another song. Okay, well there's 4 players because there's a guitar part. We also heard a piano part. We've got the bass, and then we've also got the drummer. So the backing band is 4 parts. Really did a nice job. I mean, we have the sax and the piano on the same line in this other track, and you will hear a little bleed from that saxophone on the vocal part, but a saxophone in this style is very much like a vocal element. So listen to this.
It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found that somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, or even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you.
It's actually quite a good job that it's done. I'm fairly impressed with what I'm hearing here. So what we're going to do is change this and mute this part so that we're going to kind of simulate creating a karaoke track from this song. So you'll hear that now I have the vocal out, but the rest of the band mixed just without doing anything else other than muting the vocal. Let's go a little later. Obviously, you do hear a little ghosting in there. I think you could possibly clean that up with a little bit of editing, but nonetheless, it would be a reasonably good track to practice against or at least sing over if you wanted something like that. All right. Really interesting, and I would say those are good results. So I'm going to pick another tune that's a little more pop or rock style just to give it a try on some other material. So here is another song.
I don't gotta listen to what you wanna say to me, 'cause I'm on a mission, watching you will see. I can be a watcher, I can be a killer bee.
I'm going to skip around so you get the idea of a few other sections of this song, and then we'll separate out the stems.
Oh, I live for the heat.
So I chose this because it's got some weird fuzz guitar in it and things like that. Let's go later as the song builds out. And so there's that breakdown there where the drums drop out. There's some acoustic guitar in there. This will be an interesting test. So we'll right click, split to stems, take all the tracks and hit separate. Now this last time took a minute or so. Maybe it took a couple of minutes, but yeah, you can see that it's 4% done at this point. I will come back after this is done and also try to keep track of about how long this takes. But it looks like we're maybe less than a minute in and it's 39% at this point. All right, so the stem separation has completed, and I would say that took about 2 minutes to separate. If you wanted to rename these, then you can click on the track name, and there is a track rename function that I have assigned to F12. So if I hit F12, I can go in here and put in what this track is now for drums. Or you can open the controls panel area, and this one is vocal. So I just click on that, go down here, and replace that. This one here is other, I'm not sure what it is, but this one here is bass. So I'll go ahead and rename that as well. I realized I had the click running along with the song demo before, but I'm not going to repeat that here, but I just wanted to let you know that I realized that and I have it off at this point. All right, so we're going to sample a little bit of each of these tracks, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the things that we're hearing. I mean, immediately right away, you can hear that on that kind of a snare sound that there is a reverb effect on it that it's picking up and it's putting into the drum track. I mean, there's a pretty strong pumping effect, but that might be part of the way that it's produced. Let's go on and listen to the vocal.
I can be a killer bee. Oh, I could be a thriller who keeps living for the heat. Living for the heat.
Now there was a echo throw at the end of that where it repeated out heat, heat, heat. Interesting that it was able to add that to the vocal track.
Living for the heat. Living.
Instead of soloing the vocal, I'm going to mute the vocal and just see how good it does it at doing just the vocal elimination. Again, it does a pretty good job. You can hear slight ghosting of the track or some artifacts, but it does a pretty good job of that. I'm interested to hear what's going on with this other track to see what things it picked up and put on that track. So we'll solo that one off. It sounds like we've got a variety of guitars there. We've got a fuzz guitar, kind of our main guitar, plus an acoustic guitar in there. You could hear when the vocal got really distorted, we picked up a little artifact from that in here. And you can hear a little ghosting from the drum part. All right, let's listen to the bass line. Interesting, when you isolate it like that, you can hear a couple of things about the production. One is that the bass guitar has some resonance to it, almost like an acoustic quality, like maybe they're playing, what am I thinking of, a Hofner or something like that? Or it's maybe a P bass that's got some treatment on it, but you can also hear that it's fuzzed out a little bit. It really sounds like it's in a room. It's a little distant. It's interesting. Generally, I think this program does a pretty good job with the bass. If I listen to all the parts together.
Until you go and check your sleeves. The last time you kissed her, the quickest kind of thief. I can be a wild child, oh, I could be a killer bee.
One thing that you can, as you play around with soloing and bringing in the different elements of the stems, is you could see how useful this could be while you're remixing or doing some sort of a mashup. Or working up a DJ track where you want to grab a vocal sample off of this to put over some different background beat. That could be really useful, and I guess that's kind of the intended purpose of this. So anyway, it's a good demo. Obviously, the separation's not perfect, and it's different with different kinds of music. I tried it on some other classic rock tunes I didn't really want to play for the sake of, playing copyrighted material. These are from stock music libraries. And so there shouldn't be a problem with that. But I tried a couple of Boston sucks, which are very dense. It did a great job of separating out all the parts. Even all the guitar parts were pretty clearly separated out from the vocals and the drums. And the bass typically does a really good job. So I think it's an interesting feature. Thanks for watching. I haven't done a video for a while. I hope you enjoyed this. It's 2024 now, and I hope to be able to bring some more videos to this channel through the year, but I'm not going to make any promises about what frequency or what content. But I've got a big backlog of things that I could talk about or show here, but that are both hardware and software. And hope that I can find time to put a few of these together. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video one of these days.